Welcome, everybody, to Week 4 of the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show on the Grizzly True Sports Network. That CFL Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care, the future of sports medicine. Make sure you go to thegrizzlytruth.net, click on the Replenishing Care banner. It'll take you, explain the PEMF machine, and all the other great products they offer. I'm your host for the Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Schmitty?
I'm doing good. I'm at home, quiet, and ready to do this show now. I'm glad to be home.
All right. We normally have Robert Drummond with us. He is on vacation in the mountains, and we can't get a good enough connection where we could probably have him the whole show anyway. So Robert will be back next week with us. Let's go ahead and let's look back at the week past. We had the Ottawa Red Blacks and the Calgary Stampeders started it off. Stampeders are still perfect. Bo Levi Mitchell threw for 2 touchdowns. Stampeders are now 3-0 with a convincing 24-14 victory over the Red Blacks last Thursday night. And the thing that's getting scary about this Calgary team, Schmitty, is defense was the name of this game. And their defense was extremely good. And their running game with William Powell, gave the Red Blacks, the Red Blacks got a little bit going with William Powell. But outside of William Powell, they shut Trevor Harris down.
Yeah, he was 13-29, threw an interception. Did not look Trevor Harris-like at all. Calgary team, they just find ways. Every time people just start talking about, maybe this is the year they come back to the pack. Now they just plug it in and go. And this game was a great example of just the efficiency. They played good defense. Offensively, I think Mitchell had 1 interception, but outside of that, very efficient. Ran the football well. They just do everything. They just do everything well, and they make it look easy sometimes.
Yeah, and the Red Blacks defense has improved immensely over last year. It looks like at least through the first few games of this season. So really, when you look at them, it's going to be hard to do that to Trevor Harris, no matter who you are, more than once during the season. And with Powell running the ball so successfully, I think this Red Black team's a threat.
Yeah, I think the thing that I took away from this game is, Calgary is Calgary, but let's not be fooled that about Ottawa. Ottawa's a good football team. Trevor Harris is rarely going to have games like this. They ran the ball well. If Trevor Harris would have been on, maybe it's a closer game, a different game. But Ottawa's defense is much improved. This is a game last year, quite honestly, that it wouldn't have ended 24-14. It'd have been more like 41-14. They did some things, but Calgary played efficient, but boy, Ottawa. Don't count this team out. This is a team that I think, if Harris stays healthy and their key pieces stay healthy, this is a team that can be there at the end.
Yeah, and I really, the scariest thing about this is I don't think it's that Trevor Harris was off. I just think Calgary's defense was that good. I mean, they were in his face the whole game.
Yeah, they really were. Like I said, this is 2 really good football teams. So I think, as we go on, we're gonna see a lot of how good Ottawa is and how good Calgary is. And I think this potentially is this is the kind of game you're gonna maybe be talking about in the Grey Cup. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams develop as the year goes on.
Yeah, and another thing another team I think we got to add into that was the Hamilton Ticats, who dominated both sides of the ball for long stretches on Friday night, beat Winnipeg 31-17. Jeremiah Masoli, we were both wrong on this. Robert was right. I mean, Jeremiah Masoli looks like the real deal now. Broke the 300-yard passing mark for the 8th straight game. Hamilton's defense largely shut down Winnipeg's offense. At one point, they forced 6 consecutive 2-and-outs. And this Hamilton team, I think, has to be taken for real right now. Masoli was really good in this game.
I'm not jumping on the bandwagon quite yet, but I am starting to work up the steps. I love what June Jones is doing, and the one thing that we've talked about is, Hamilton. They're going to have a running game. And Erlington goes out and 11 carries, 92 yards, which shows the efficiency when your quarterback is throwing 31 to 41. It opens up the opportunity to have a running game, which is what they did. Dominant performance, dominant defensive performance. They at times defensively, I mean, it looked silly. Just the 2 and outs and just the way they played. This is a team I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon yet. It's early, but boy, they are looking good. Foley is looking like a guy that could be a real force in this offense. It looks like he's starting to really get comfortable with it. So here we go. This could be a very interesting Hamilton team as we go.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Banks is another guy you got to look at. 11 receptions for 111 yards. When you look at Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg, when they get Matt Nichols back, will be fine. They'll be a contender this year. Strevler didn't play terrible, but he didn't play as well as he did the first few weeks. I think it was 17 for 30, 146 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Andrew Harris ran the ball decent, 14 for 66. But I think both of these teams are teams that we're going to see in the playoffs, though, as long as Matt Nichols comes back healthy.
Yeah, Winnipeg's going to be fine. And Hamilton, like I said, this is a team that I think has that potential. I think June Jones has done this before, albeit at the college level. He's done this before. And people forget, as bad as Atlanta Falcons, you got to remember when he took over the Atlanta Falcons, they were struggling. They weren't very good. He took them to the playoffs a couple times. So he's not been terrible at the professional level. It's going to be interesting. But Winnipeg, to me, I think Nichols comes back and he comes healthy. To me, they're a shoe-in. They become that better of a team. But these are two teams that I think you got to keep an eye on.
They got a damn good.
They really do. So this is really two teams that to keep an eye on. I think both of these teams have potential. I think Winnipeg a little bit more with Nichols, but certainly don't sleep on Hamilton now. We only have one team now that really we can sleep on.
Yeah. Next up, we have Edmonton defeated the BC Lions to improve to 2-1 on the season with a 41-22 decision. The Lions get handed their first loss of the season after only completing 2 passes in the first quarter, and really the first half he was kind of slowed down. The game was close at halftime, but Mike Riley, I think he was 22 for 30 by the time the game was over, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. So this was typical, and the one thing that wasn't typical was how well the Edmonton defense played. Is that more of maybe they got better? Is that more Jonathan Jennings?
I'm going to say more Jonathan Jennings right now. I'm not convinced that Edmonton's defense improved that well that quickly. We'll see as we go. But the one stat from this game that just really blew out at me wasn't Mike Riley. It was C.J. Gable with the 23 carries, 165 yards. That's not something typically we've seen out of Edmonton. So now maybe you look a little bit at the defensive side for Edmonton, maybe a little bit the fact that, yes, they gave up 22 points, but I would have to imagine that if you look at possession time, I think Edmonton, held the ball. I mean, with 23 carries, that's a lot of carries. You don't see that out of Edmonton. So there was a little bit of ball control, a little bit of, keeping the ball, extending drives. So some of that, it plays into, BC only scoring 22 points.
Yeah, but let's face it. If Edmonton can keep the ball away, if Edmonton gives up 22 points a game and that's it, they're not going to lose too many games with that offense. No,
they may not lose any games because if you're doing that, then you're scoring points. Great game plan. It was good, Edmonton. I'm still not convinced on their defense, but if they're doing things like this, it's going to help their defense.
Yeah, the play keep away, you shorten how much your defense is on the field. It helps out a lot in situations like that. Plus, the other thing is when you've got a Mike Riley and you got a C.J. Gable, it takes a lot of the pressure off your defense so they can just kind of pin their ears back and go.
Exactly. So, hey, maybe we're starting to see Edmonton say, okay, hey, you know what? We know what we need to do. We need to keep the ball offensively, keep our defense off the field as much as possible. And if you're being efficient with that and you're putting points on the board, you're going to win a lot of football games.
All right, next up we had a game that I don't think any of us saw coming. The Montreal Alouettes defense recorded 4 interceptions to hold off the Saskatchewan Roughriders at Saskatchewan, 23-17. Najee Murray picks off Ryder quarterback David Watford in the final minutes of the game to lock down the first win of the year for the Owls. And really, after the first few weeks, I really thought Montreal could not win a game all year because it was terrible. Watford replaced starter Brandon Bridge at halftime for the Riders. This is one of the most embarrassing losses I think a team could suffer.
Well, when I said there's one team that you can really kind of sleep on, it's Montreal. And even though they won this game, I mean, let's be honest, last year we saw the same thing. Once a month they got the period win, then they go back to normal. So, I mean, here they got it. But this was, and I did get to see some of this game. I actually did get to watch some of it. It was a replay of it, but this was ugly to watch. I mean, it was not pretty, and honestly, this is the kind of game that probably Montreal is going to win. Is a game where it's just this ugly up. Saskatchewan looked horrible. Montreal didn't look that much better, but it was a battle of who was going to look worse, and honestly, Saskatchewan was really bad. So, hey, great win, great for Montreal, get a win here, but don't let this fool you. I think this is more a case of Saskatchewan not having their quarterback. They just look completely off offensively, and Montreal was able to just do enough and give, Drew Willie and Jeff Matthews, who both quarterbacks have played, give them credit. They didn't turn the ball over. They stayed pretty efficient. But don't get too, if you're a Montreal fan, don't get too excited.
Yeah, and that brings us to the Week 4 games. We've got Hamilton at Saskatchewan. We got Brandon Bridge starting the game again. It was announced today. Do you like Hamilton in this one, or are you going with the home team? It's going to be hard to go with Saskatchewan after they lose to Montreal, though.
It is, but I like the way Hamilton's played the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to go with Hamilton. To me right now with the quarterback situation in Saskatchewan, that's one battle, but the other battle is Hamilton's playing good football the last couple of weeks. So, I'll go with the hot team and go with Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hamilton too. I'm cheering for the Riders because even though nobody's ever heard it in 3 years, they're my favorite team. So I'm going to go with Hamilton to win this game. I think Saskatchewan's going to find it hard to get any points. I think Hamilton could win this game by double digits. Next up, we've got the Ottawa Red Blacks at the Montreal Alouettes. Ottawa's a good football team. They're going to beat Montreal. I mean, Montreal, I will give them this. I thought the difference in the game, of course, was the quarterback play, where their quarterbacks, Jeff Matthews, Drew Willie till he left, they didn't turn the ball over. They didn't play great, but the no turnovers compared to Saskatchewan's 4s what won them the game. So I think Ottawa wins this by double digits also, Schmidt.
Yeah, if there was ever a game where for Ottawa, losing the game they lost last week, they're going to come into this wanting to put up some extreme points and really put a hurt on somebody. And, when you know who won the pony, what better team to have than Montreal? And Montreal's not a good football team. Nothing that I see makes me feel any different. So, yeah, Ottawa's going to come out of this double-digit win, and it won't be close.
Actually, all 4 games, I think, could possibly be blowouts this week. I'm sure 1 or 2 of them will surprise us. But next up, we got Saturday, July the 7th. We get the Edmonton Eskimos at the Toronto Argonauts. The Argonauts coming off a bye week. James Franklin will be playing quarterback. Toronto needs a win here, Schmidt, but I don't see him getting it against Edmonton.
Nope. They do need a win, but Edmonton's going to come in and yeah, this game I do think may be a little closer than some of these other games, but Edmonton will win this.
Yeah, I think Toronto's still got a good roster. It's just they ran into Calgary. They lose a close game here. So I definitely don't think that they're done. But if they lose this game, they're going to be starting to get a little bit of trouble. The next game, the BC Lions at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What do you think here, Schmidt?
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you. I'm going to go and pick an upset in this game. I'm going to pick BC. Just a gut feeling. I just feel like this is a game where I think BC could win this and be an upset, and there's real no logical reason why, other than the fact that it's just a feeling that, Winnipeg without Nichols, even though, their quarterback play has not been bad, you just feel like Winnipeg just right now, until they get Nichols back, they teeter on that brink of where they can look good one week, they can look a little off one week. And I think this is a game in a week 4 setting that's the perfect wipe for a BC to win this.
All right, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Winnipeg. I do think this game's kind of a toss-up. I think the difference to me is I'm just going to go with the home team, because I think you look at it, one team playing with a backup quarterback, the other team playing with a guy who sometimes looks like a starter, sometimes looks like a backup. So Strevler did play well at home earlier in the year, so I'm going to go with Winnipeg to win that one. Brian, any final thoughts? We got a quick show tonight since these games look like mismatches, at least 3 of them.
Yeah, we did. No, I think it'll be an interesting week. I'm going to definitely pay attention to the Hamilton game. I think a win here, which I think is very possible, very, very possible with the injury issue with the quarterback situation in Saskatchewan. That would put Hamilton at 3-1, and boy, now all of a sudden, you really start having to put them on the map, and I think this might be a game with the win here that I really get on the bandwagon, because every time I get on the Hamilton bandwagon, they let me down. So I'm trying to hold off, but they have been fun to watch.
Yeah, and when you look at it, I mean, Hamilton and Ottawa, the way this is going, they keep winning. They're going to kind of separate themselves from Montreal and Toronto and run away with this. And right now, to me, it looks like Hamilton and Ottawa are both playoff teams. But I do think the way this is shaping up, Brian, I mean, I think when I look at this, this is not as competitive as a league as I thought it would be this year. We got a lot more teams that I think are not very – I thought Toronto would be better than this. I know it's early, but I really, when I look at them, Ricky Ray's getting older anyways, and you got to keep him healthy. But when you look at this looks like, Calgary's up here, and then Hamilton, Ottawa, and Edmonton are probably the next rung. And then from there, you got a big drop-off where I think Winnipeg could be a team when they get back to starting quarterback Matt Nichols could get into that race. But right now, this looks like a 3 or 4 team race to the Grey Cup, to me at least.
Yeah, right now, I mean, it is early, but Calgary's Calgary. I do agree with Ottawa, Hamilton, Edmonton being next level, but I also feel like, Winnipeg gets Nichols back. That's going to boost them to be up there with Ottawa, Edmonton, Hamilton. The problem is, you just when you get him back, have you treaded water enough that you don't have far to catch up, or do they start a losing streak now, and now all of a sudden you're having to play big catch-up?
Yeah,
that's the difference.
And if you're 3 or 4 games behind Calgary, you're not going to catch them because they're probably not going to lose 4 games this year.
Exactly. And Saskatchewan, same situation. Week 1, I mean, Saskatchewan looked like a team to beat. Now, it's, again, as we talk about every year, one injury can take a team from a Grey Cup team to down on the list, and we're seeing that with Saskatchewan. So again, same situation. Can they tread water enough to get their situation back where they want it, or is this a team now that's going to struggle to where the point gets to a point where it doesn't matter? I kind of feel like Winnipeg, it will tread water enough when they get Nichols back. I'm not so sure about Saskatchewan after what I saw. Again, early, small sample size. That opinion can change, but yeah, I mean, it's just not what I felt it would be. I felt Toronto would be better. I felt like maybe BC would ride a little bit of that. The excitement, final year, all that excitement, really trying to want to, take them out on a high. But right now it's a 4-team race with a couple teams that are going to, maybe knock at the door.
Yeah, but the one thing
Montreal is.
The one thing to remember, Brian, is this though. Last year, we thought Hamilton and Saskatchewan were atrocious teams. They both came on. They got everything together. So Toronto was another team that started out the year really slow, I think, didn't they? And then all of a sudden they picked up steam. Same with Ottawa. So this is a long season, and
oh yeah,
probably at least 2 of the 4 or 5 teams we just kind of wrote off are going to get back in this.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said it's early. I don't, like Hamilton right now. I love what they've done the last 2 games, but who's to say in the next couple of weeks we're not looking going, oh man, they're back to playing poorly. You get an injury. You get an injury that can happen. All these teams, and I'm talking Hamilton, Ottawa, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, primarily. We saw already with Toronto with losing Ricky Ray, but all these teams are one injury away, and generally speaking, it's going to be your quarterback position from things going from really good to really bad really quick. If Ottawa loses Trevor Harris as an example, where do they go from there? Edmonton, great example. The only team, I shouldn't say the only team, but one of the teams out of that group we mentioned that maybe if they lost their starting quarterback, maybe doesn't lose as much right now would be Hamilton.
Well,
but we don't know.
Yeah,
But we don't know that. You're right. But at least on paper, potentially. But, we're seeing it with Saskatchewan. I mean, you lose your starting quarterback, and all of a sudden you go from a team that's a Grey Cup team to now all of a sudden they're struggling. Granted, it's a 1-week sample size, but they're struggling. Winnipeg, has probably treaded water about as good as you could expect right now. But how long can you tread the water before it really starts to snowball? And you gotta get Nichols back as quickly as you can. So that's the thing about the CFL that is. Always so interesting is we can sit here and talk about week 4 about teams that, oh man, they're not looking very good. And we can talk about week 4 about teams that are looking really good. And we can 2 weeks from now, injury, whatever, be flipping it. So it's early. It's not over by a long shot. So teams that maybe right now are a little bit out of it, you can be back in it again in 3 or 4 weeks. Probably, like I said, the only team that's the exception to that rule would be Montreal.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap the show up this week. Robert will be back with us next week. Make sure you check us next Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Check out all of our shows on thegruelingtruth.net. You can follow us on Twitter @GruelingTruth. Go to Facebook, find our Facebook group, follow us there, like the page. Now you can get Grueling Truth merchandise at the Cincy shop, CincyShirts.com. You can go actually on our Facebook page right now, click the link, that'll take you there. And at some point, we're going to have just a giant Brian Schmidt head on a T-shirt and see how many people buy it.
Oh, that thing will be the hottest selling thing you got. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. I'm sure your grandson will have one.
There will be a lot of people buying that.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now.
That's really why we haven't put it out yet, because they want to make sure that it comes around Christmas so everybody can have Brian Schmidt under the Christmas tree.
That's the smartest thing. That's the smartest thing you've said all night.
It wouldn't take much. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Remember, you can hear us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Brian Schmidt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.